Animesh, welcome to those cars of beer books.
So the journey begins in a city called रांची, जो कि मेरा जन्म स्थान है. तो मेरा जन्म रांची में हुआ.
यार कौन से नॉस्टैल्जिया में जाते हैं, ठीक है, लेट्स हैव अ नॉस्टैल्जिया.
Yes.
कौन से गेम खेले हैं मतलब बचपन में? और पिट्टू खेला?
Yes.
गुल्ली डंडा खेला?
गुल्ली डंडा खेला है.
कंजा खेला?
खेला है.
यार मतलब ये बहुत
एक लाली डंडा है. I don't know कि आप जानते हो कि नहीं. लाली डंडा is also a game जो हम लोग खेलते थे.
Are we way behind about quantum technologies as compared to US, Europe and other countries?
Yes, we are definitely lagging.
मेरे साथ सेम सिचुएशन है. I stay with my mom and no matter what time I go home, वो एक कप ऑफ टी और वो पूछना कि बेटा दिन कैसा गया, खाना खाया कि नहीं, खाना बना दे, खाना खा लो, वो इतना एनर्जाइज कर देता है ना आपको, आपके माइंड सेट को कि नेक्स्ट डे यू आर रेडी बिकॉज समबडी इज देयर. I want to live a life of my mom. हेलो माय यूट्यूब फैमिली, कैसे हैं आप लोग? आई एम श्योर आप सभी अच्छे होंगे. मैं प्रमोद शुक्ला आपका फिर से स्वागत करता हूं आपके अपने दोस्त कास्ट अंडर बियर बॉक्स. गाइज, फ्राइडे आई एम बैक विद अनदर कॉन्वर्सेशन विद समवन. और आज की जो पर्सनालिटी यहाँ पे आ रही है वो काफ़ी यूनिक है. आई नो, मैं हमेशा कहता हूँ कि एक यूनिक पर्सनालिटी आ रही है, लेकिन क्या करूँ, वाकई एक बहुत हर बार एक यूनिक पर्सनालिटी हमारे स्टूडियो में आती है. तो आज जिससे मैं मिलने वाला हूँ, he is a source of lot of knowledge and he can talk about many things. सबसे इम्पॉर्टेंट बात यह है कि एंटरप्रेन्योर है, एक स्पिरिचुअल स्पीकर है, और मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टेंट पार्ट जो आज इंडस्ट्री में प्रॉब्लम्स हो रही हैं, सबसे ज़्यादा प्रॉब्लम यह है कि हमारा जो डेटा का थ्रेट है, जो चाहे वो डेटा सेंटर की बात करें, चाहे आप व्हाट्सएप की बात करें, चाहे आप बैंक की बात करें, हर जगह आजकल हर एक इंसान को एक डेटा थ्रेट है कि उसका डेटा कहीं स्टील तो नहीं हो रहा है. सो वी कैन टॉक अबाउट लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स विथ माई गेस्ट अनिमेश आर्यन. और हम लोग एक बहुत ही स्पेशल टॉपिक पर डिस्कस करने वाले हैं, जो कि है क्वांटम थ्योरी पे. क्वांटम फिजिक्स की बात की है, क्वांटम कंप्यूटिंग की बात करूंगा, और उनसे बात करूंगा कि साइबर सिक्योरिटी कैसे इस सब चीज़ों से लिंक्ड है. सो गाइज, प्लीज़ मीट one of the special guests today, Animesh Aaryan. Animesh, welcome to those cars of beer books. यार पहले बहुत बड़ा धन्यवाद, क्योंकि आप इतनी दूर से यहाँ तक आए हो. ये हमारे लिए बहुत सम्मान की बात है कि आप इतनी दूर से आए हो. और बहुत सारे डिस्कशंस होंगे, बहुत सारे पॉइंट्स आज डिस्कस करेंगे. आप लेट मी जस्ट टॉक अबाउट यू कि गाइज, Animesh is an entrepreneur and he is running a very successful company which I will talk about later. बट उससे पहले Animesh, मैं जानना चाहता हूँ कि Animesh है कौन, कहाँ से आए हैं, कहाँ से इनका आगमन हुआ बैंगलोर में?
ओके, हाँ, तो ये बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग जर्नी है. सो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल थैंक यू प्रमोद फॉर हैविंग मी हियर. इट्स अ प्लेजर. एंड सो द जर्नी बिगिंस इन अ सिटी कॉल्ड रांची, जो कि मेरा जन्म स्थान है. तो मेरा जन्म रांची में हुआ, जो कि झारखंड का कैपिटल है. और वहाँ से मतलब हमारा बचपन,
वैसे हम लोग पड़ोसी, आपको पता है.
जी,
मैं बिहार का हूँ और आप झारखंड के.
जी, आई मीन जिस समय मेरा जन्म हुआ उस समय
हम लोग सब एक ही थे.
हाँ. तो एंड मतलब एक जो रेगुलर मिडिल क्लास एक फैमिली जो होती है, मैं उससे बिलोंग करता हूँ. एंड वी आर वेरी, आई वुड ऑल्सो कॉल इट, कि जो एक कॉमन थिंकिंग जो होती है ना लोगों की, लाइक नॉट वेरी ऑर्थोडॉक्स बट रेगुलर फैमिली, यू नो, दैट्स हाउ वेयर आई बिलोंग फ्रॉम. एंड जो बचपन था वो साधारण था, लाइक बट मेरे पिताजी पढ़ाई को लेके काफ़ी यू नो स्ट्रिक्ट थे कि नहीं, मतलब कुछ भी करना है बट पढ़ना है. एंड आई थिंक बिकॉज उनका जो जनरेशन था,
करेक्ट,
दे वर नॉट एबल टू यू नो मेक देयर यू नो मार्क्स और जो भी कहें, because of the language constraints, which is English probably. It's unfortunate, but that's where. So you know, we all like, you know, we were kind of, you know, educated in convent English medium school. And वहाँ से you know बचपन बहुत अच्छा था, क्योंकि वो टाउनशिप एरिया में, मतलब अभी तो जब मैं बच्चों को देखता हूँ तो लगता है कि मतलब उनके लाइफ का जो जॉय पार्ट है वो नहीं है, क्योंकि हम लोग बहुत खेलते थे. खेलना मतलब अगर लाइट, क्योंकि हमारा टाउनशिप एरिया था तो उसका था कि ये 4 to 6 पावर कट होता था शाम के वक्त. और जैसे ही वो 6 बजे अगर वो बत्ती जल गई इट्स इंडिकेटर कि आपको घर जाना है।
यार कौन कौन से नॉस्टैल्जिया में जाते हैं, ठीक है, लेट्स हैव अ नॉस्टैल्जिया।
Yes, yes.
कौन कौन से गेम खेले हैं मतलब बचपन में? और पिट्टो खेला,
यस,
गुल्ली डंडा खेला,
गुल्ली डंडा खेला है,
कंजा खेला है?
खेला है।
यार मतलब ये बहुत
एक
miss
लाली
करता हूँ।
डंडा, आई डोंट नो कि आप जानते हो कि नहीं, लाली डंडा इज लाइक इज ऑल्सो अ गेम जो हम लोग खेलते थे।
वो और क्या कहते हैं, गरम कचौड़ी, जो नहीं बॉल लेके वो
Yes.
पीठ पे पड़ता
हाँ,
था, वो
हाँ,
मतलब वो अमेजिंग था यार।
हाँ, तो वो हमारा टाउनशिप एरिया में क्या था कि बहुत लोग होते थे, मतलब और मतलब मेरी फैमिली में हम लोग 3 भाई हैं, तो क्या था कि अगर कोई नहीं भी होता था तो हम लोग क्रिकेट या कुछ ऐसा खेल लेते थे।
Right.
और कुछ ना मतलब एक बट हम लोग बचपन में बहुत ही बदमाश, ऐसे मम्मी भी कहती हैं, क्योंकि हम लोग के एरिया में ना एक सबसे जो अच्छा वक्त था वो था कि हमारे सोसाइटी के विदिन टाउनशिप के अंदर में रामलीला होता था।
रामलीला?
हाँ, रामलीला होता था और वहाँ पे वो एक्टर आते थे एंड यू नो वहाँ पे परफॉर्म करते थे, और हमें लगता था कि ये लाइफ का सबसे बेस्ट टाइम है, क्योंकि आप किसी को बहुत क्लोजली देख रहे हो। और हमारा बचपन रामायण महाभारत देख के ही बड़ा हुआ है, लाइक क्योंकि उस वक्त मतलब जो टीवी, जो स्टैंडर्ड टीवी जो आज के टाइम पे है, वहाँ पे सिर्फ डी चैनल होता था, तो हम लोग वो देखते थे। और वो बचपन काफ़ी अच्छा था, मतलब मैं बहुत एन्जॉय किया हूँ अपने बचपन में। आई वुड नॉट कॉल इट कि इट वॉज बोरिंग, क्योंकि पढ़ना वॉज अ वेरी स्मॉल सेगमेंट ऑफ इट। मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम्स इट वॉज अबाउट प्लेइंग, एन्जॉइंग एंड यू नो मतलब। तो रामलीला जैसे वो टाइम था, तो रामलीला के टाइम पे हम लोग देखते थे अरे ऐसा कैसा है, तो मैं और भाई हम लोग ना, मतलब मैं तीनों भाई, तो मेरा बड़ा भाई वो राम बनता था और मैं लक्ष्मण बनता था, छोटा वो जो भाई था वो भीम बनता था। तो हम लोग ने एक बार ऐसे ही करके ऐसा कि वो आप दिखाता है ना कि आप वो धनुष लिए और तीर चलाया और मतलब आग लग गई, तो मेरे बड़े भाई को बोला कि तू कैसा राम है भाई, तेरे से आग नहीं लग रही है। तो वो बोला कि ठीक है तुम लोग आग बन के रखो, मैं आता हूँ। तो ही वेंट, ही डिप्ड इट इन अ केरोसिन, यू नो, रैप्ड द क्लॉथ एंड यू नो देन शूट इट, एंड देन यू नो आवर एंटायर गार्डन बर्न्ड। तो वो पूरा बागान जल गया। फिर तो बहुत पड़ी थी मार, मतलब बचपन में तो लाइक वी वर वेरी नोटोरियस। इनफैक्ट माई पेरेंट्स वांटेड टू सेंड मी फॉर बोर्डिंग, तो लाइक यू नो हमारा बचपन ऐसा था कि वी वुड जस्ट एंड अप डूइंग समथिंग, कि मतलब आज लगता था कि यार आज वहाँ नहीं खाया तो लगता है अटेंडेंस नहीं लगा, मतलब दैट काइंड ऑफ अ थिंग। तो पापा लोग भी बोलते थे कि यार ये पढ़ नहीं रहे बच्चे, बट आई थिंक स्लोली एज इन यू नो जैसे वो 8th 9th आया कि यार बोर्ड होने वाला है, तो फिर पापा भी नहीं अब यू नो देयर इज़ नो टीवी, यू कैन नॉट वॉच टीवी, सिर्फ पढ़ाई करो। एंड आई थिंक education, in that sense, you know, that's how we got into, you know, doing things. And फिर एक रेगुलर, आई थिंक आप जिस एरिया की बात कर रहे हैं, झारखंड बिहार की एरिया की जो बात कर रहे हैं, वहाँ पे क्या है कि इंजीनियरिंग वाज द फर्स्ट ऑप्शन।
First thing, yeah, first option.
इट इज़ अ नेशनल थिंग,
Yeah.
बट आपको इंजीनियरिंग करना है, यू नो,
यूपीएससी, बीपीएससी, इंजीनियरिंग,
या साइंस लेना ही है, बिकॉज
Science.
10th के बाद आपको साइंस लेना है।
Correct.
एंड देन वी विल डू समथिंग, यू नो, वी विल टॉक अबाउट कि आगे क्या करना है। तो आईटी, अब आईटी का प्रिपरेशन तो मेरा मतलब सबका था कि यू नो एक अटेम्प्ट करना है, आईटी निकालनी है। अनफॉर्चुनेटली आई कुडंट क्रैक, बट या द प्रिपरेशन टाइम वाज वेरी गुड। और मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि जो बचपन हमारा है ना, वो हमने बहुत इन्जॉय किया है। हमारे पास यू नो मतलब 2-4 रुपये होते थे कि यू नो आपको आने जाने का, जैसे साइकिल से जा रहे हैं,
Right.
तो और उसमें एक समोसा खा लिया एंड लाइफ यूज्ड टू बी लाइक वंडरफुल। और यार आज तो मतलब समोसा खा गया है, इट इज़ दैट टाइम आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट। एंड उसके बाद 12th किया। 12th के बाद आईटी निकला, फिर लगा कि नहीं यार 1 साल ड्रॉप करते हैं, तो ड्रॉप करके फिर से तैयारी की। एंड अगेन देयर वाज दैट आई कुडंट क्रैक बिकॉज मेरी केमिस्ट्री थोड़ी वीक थी। तो उसके बाद फिर समहाउ मेरा एडमिशन केरला में हुआ। वहाँ पे एक कोर्स था इंटीग्रेटेड एमएससी इन फोटोनिक्स, विच इज़ लाइक फील्ड इन विच यू हैव मोर एक्सपेरिमेंटल पार्ट ऑफ फिज़िक्स। तो उसमें मैं एनरोल किया। फिर वहाँ से एक बेसिक ट्रेनिंग हुई एंड उसके बीच में मैं आईएससी में एज ए इंटर्न काम किया। आर्यभट्टा रिसर्च इंस्टीट्यूट है नैनीताल में, वहाँ पे कुछ टाइम स्पेंड किए एंड यू नो ड्यूरिंग माई कोर्स वर्क। एंड फिर जब मैं अपना लास्ट थीसिस लिख रहा था, तो फाइनल का जो थीसिस होता है वो लिखते वक्त मैं यहाँ बैंगलोर में आया एंड बैंगलोर फेल्ट वेरी होम। इट फील्स वेरी होम एंड इट वॉज ड्यूरिंग यू नो दैट थिंग आई वॉज एक्सपोज टू द क्वांटम फिजिक्स पार्ट, लाइक जिसके बेसिस पे यू नो द कंपनी इज यू नो वर्किंग ऑन। तो एंड ड्यूरिंग दैट टाइम वी फेल्ट कि यार इसमें कुछ लाइक एज इन लाइक विद द कलीग्स यू नो वी यूज्ड टू डिस्कस शायद इसका काम ज़्यादा होगा या कुछ इसमें कर सकते हैं। एंड उसके बाद फिर हम लोग ने उसको मतलब ट्राई किया। कुछ मेरे 2-3 लोग फ्रेंड थे एंड कुछ, बट वी डिड नॉट गेट मच रिस्पॉन्स क्योंकि people were not educated about what this technology is. So then I kind of, you know, felt okay, let's...
So Animesh, I have a question here. So see, जब भी कोई जैसे आपने अपनी एजुकेशन कंप्लीट किया एंड एवरीबडी इज ट्राइंग टू स्टेप इनटू द कॉर्पोरेट वर्ल्ड कि भाई अब ROI मिलना चाहिए जो स्पेंड किया है, पैसे कमाओ. एट दैट टाइम आपने सोचा कि लेट मी गेट इनटू समथिंग विच इज़ नॉट वेरी कॉमन इन द इंडस्ट्री एंड पीपल मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम पीपल आर नॉट वेरी मच अश्योर अबाउट कि क्वांटम फिजिक्स क्या है. ऑफकोर्स उनको पता है लेकिन उसके बेसिस पे काम मिलना, आपने कॉर्पोरेट पे काम नहीं किया, तो हाउ डिड यू मैनेज योर एवरीथिंग, लाइक हाउ डिड यू पे योर बिल्स?
Right. I think that's where I would call my family support. तो it's when I was trying to do कि इसमें कुछ कर सकते हैं, तो there was always an academic line जो usually लोग मास्टर्स करते हैं, फिर उसके बाद रिसर्च करते हैं, and then they complete their PhD and then join as a professor or pursue further research.
Right.
तो मुझे लगा था कि मतलब actually it was also I was very influenced by one of the persons whom I regard as topmost influential in my life. His name is Dr. Shrikant. तो उन्होंने बताया कि something like Dr. Shrikant.
Okay.
So he's one of the leading quantum cryptographers in India. I mean, extremely good. And he told that probably you can do something. So उस टाइम पे ऐसा नहीं था कि कुछ बनाना है या कंपनी स्टार्ट करनी है. It was like, can I do something? Can I build something around it? तो उस वक्त ये आइडिया नहीं था कि कंपनी बना के, इट वुड हैव बीन ऑल्सो कि अगर कोई ग्रांट दे दे कि कि डू समथिंग लाइक दिस, तो वो भी ट्राई कर रहे थे हम लोग. इट वॉज नॉट वेरी फोकस्ड ऑन कि आई विल स्टार्ट दिस जर्नी एज अ एंटरप्रेन्योर और मतलब फुल टाइम इनटू दैट, बट बेसिकली is someone clicking with this idea? So that was the thing we started with. But then it was also very hard because we knew कि a lot of people were उनको समझाना पड़ता था कि what is it is, उसका relevance क्या है, and then it used to be like that. So then didn't get much response. So then kind of I started and applied for my programs, and then continued my research in NTU. But there the world was different because their academic organizations and corporate, they work very closely. So there's lot of industrial funded programs in which people take things from the lab to the market, which is not very common thing in India. And I saw that a lot of things are happening in quantum, as in Google, Microsoft, they would do seminars regularly on quantum in Singapore. And Singapore also has a lot of good facilities in quantum. Their capabilities are very good. So that's when we thought that we could do something. And then I applied for some programs. There's a fintech, kind of accelerator program. The company was not even formed that time. So, I applied. And somehow it clicked. So I thought that now there's a time, there's a regular path कि यहाँ पे आप ये काम करो, ठीक है, एंड उसके बाद आपको you will join as a professor या post doc करो, फिर you again work as a professor or some come into maybe industrial research. That's the regular path. The other path is to go back, start something without having things in place. So उस वक्त थोड़ा सा लगा कि थोड़ा सा एक नर्वसनेस तो था ही कि मतलब कैसे
नर्वसनेस था कि और थोड़ा इनसिक्योरिटी थी, क्या था?
I think it was excitement plus little anxiety.
If I see US, Europe, China, we have companies available, they are working on quantum technologies, right? But specifically in India, I can see that very few companies are working, and Taqbit is one of them.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So why did you think that this technology should come into the picture? You have to work on it, what you are trying to do, what you are solving, and where's the gap you are actually looking at?
Yes. So, yes, I mean, that is true with almost any technology that we're talking about. That, in India, if you look at the last, we don't want to go back 1,000 years, but the time I'm talking about how technology has been coming up, India somewhere actually has not been able to gain that momentum. Also because we got freedom only in 1947. So a lot of things were constrained. So we lost the semiconductor wave, as in the electronics part. Then there was a IT wave. So that also we kind of lost. Some things happened because Bangalore software support was able to grow, and we do that. But then I'm talking about the technology, as in most of the technology has been developed in US, whether it is internet or semiconductor industry, or we talk about the IT industry. All of these things have been there in the western part of the world. And
you're talking about the hardware side?
Yes, hardware side.
Okay.
IT support kind of grew in Bangalore because that we were able to do that job at a particular cost. So a lot of people have played roles in that as well. But then I'm talking about the technology which is being developed in the country, right? So that has not happened. And then this is the new quantum wave that we call, that if we are able to capture this, I think there is a lot of nation building which can happen with emerging technologies. Like, they also have blockchain, you also have the defense, segment, and this quantum tech. So there are other things also which can happen, but if we are able to tap on this, then we are sitting on a good potential. Whether this potential can be realized again is a function of many other things. But that's how the situation is, and we are in the right time. I mean, of course, not like what other countries are, because other countries have thought about it and they have made a systematic effort. But now things are also changing in India. We see.
So are we way behind about quantum technologies as compared to US, Europe, and other countries if they are doing it?
I mean, yes, we are definitely lagging, okay, because we are limited only to research and academic research. So you will be very surprised. The first quantum key distribution, there was a protocol which was discussed in Bangalore in IISc in the year 1984. Okay, but then for about 40 years have passed. The kind of thing that should have happened or should have triggered since then did not kind of convert.
It's a emerging technology, it's a cutting edge technology. A lot of things are happening around with quantum. So why the government of India was not ready?
I think there were different problems. I think since 1984 to, let's say, the last, say, till 2010 or something, these were very turbulent times, I call it, right? Because, governments changing, collapsing, death of prime minister. So, the nation probably did not get the time to focus on it.
So when we go back to your question, I have something. When did you feel that you have to start something in this arena? Or क्या था वो reason आपके लिए?
As I said, right, it was something. So we started with an idea that, okay, maybe this has a use in the cybersecurity. It was very elementary at that stage of time. It was not like I had the brightest idea. There were a couple of people who were already working on it, and we felt that probably this can be done. And then as we started digging more and more, trying to do some understanding the market, what kind of use cases are available, why it is important to have this in place, why are people going after quantum computers. So when you know that entire background, then you would understand that this technology is very important, right? I mean, if quantum computers can change what exists today, what were thought unimaginable before, then we need to look at what are the other aspects to it, as you know. So that one aspect is that quantum computing would actually, it has already exposed the cybersecurity and how it is going to impact cybersecurity.
So how quantum physics, computing, and cybersecurity are linked?
Yes. Yeah, I think that's a very good question, because eventually everything is about information. So when you say computing, then you would use certain things to compute a particular problem, right? And then therefore you have a mathematical framework for that. When you say cybersecurity, you are still dealing with some information which has to be safeguarded in some way, right? And then the other part I think you mentioned was
cybersecurity, like quantum physics.
Physics, yes. And then quantum physics comes in. It's a new way of computing. Okay, so we have the way in which you have a classical bit, right? A classical bit is 0 and 1, or 1. Sorry, it is a classical bit is 0 or 1. It cannot be both. Okay, whereas there is a quantum analog called as a quantum bit, and quantum bit is both 0 and 1 at the same time. I will tell you, it is very counterintuitive because our mind is trained to think in terms of binaries.
Yeah, right? I was about to say that.
Black, white, bada, chota. Right, and that's how we are trained to think. But quantum actually is that it removes, it removes that kind of boundary that you do not know for sure whether it is 0 or 1. Okay, and you can use it in a certain way to your advantage. So if you can use a quantum bit for computation, because it can be 0 and 1 at the same time, it can be used for certain, doing certain problems faster.
एक छोटा सा एग्जांपल यहाँ पे दे सकता हूँ, करेक्ट मी इफ आई एम रॉन्ग. जैसे आजकल जो ड्रग डिस्कवरी होता है, हमने डिस्कस किया था, ड्रग डिस्कवरी जो हमारा टाइम पीरियड होता है 10 साल 12 साल का जो टाइम लगता है कंप्यूटिंग टाइम में. वहाँ पे भी हम लोग अप्लाई कर सकते हैं क्वांटम
Yes.
फिजिक्स को या
Yes,
कंप्यूटिंग को?
yes. So, there is also some bit of misunderstanding about quantum computers, that quantum computers will replace everything, every computer that we have today. That is untrue. What quantum computers will do, it will exist with the classical computers, and it is very good at solving certain problems. It will not solve everything, but certain problems which classical computers cannot solve, quantum computers can solve. And that's where the advantage is.
In few seconds.
Yeah, I mean, it is basically in real time. I think that's what the thing is, that what would have taken million years for a classical computer can be solved in real time. That's
So
the what.
correct me if I'm wrong. So quantum is a kind of physics and concept, which include other technologies as well, or is it just?
Right. I think. So when we say quantum technology, as I mentioned also, it's an umbrella term.
Okay.
So there are other verticals that we have in this, which is the first one is quantum computing.
Okay.
Second one is quantum communication or quantum security. The third one is quantum metrology. And the fourth one is quantum memory. I mean, I'm just trying to keep it only to the four.
Yeah.
But what is inherent is that you would use some physics, some part of principles from quantum physics, like entanglement and superposition, and this will be used, in solving a particular problem. So you'll use the principles inherent in quantum physics, whether it is for computation or communication or key distribution. So that's how we define quantum tech. And yes, it does integrate or require other technologies, like you need a lot of electronics, you need a lot of mathematics, you need a lot of computer science. So I mean, a lot of things, actually signal processing. So a lot of things actually aid it.
It has become very interesting for me because this is a very new things to me. I know quantum physics and computers, okay, but I did not know this much.
Yeah.
The things which you shared. So now talk about your Taqbit part, like your company which you started,
Yes.
Taqbit. What you are dealing with, whom you are supporting right now.
Right. So I mean, to talk about the company, Taqbit is a technology company, and we are using quantum technologies to solve real life problems. Okay, I mean, that is how the company is structured, and our current focus is actually using quantum technologies to secure our data, the digital data that we talk about, right? And the company, actually was started by another friend of mine, family friend named Sugata, and we are kind of family friends for a long time, and that's how we embarked upon this journey. And what we do is that we make your data not only resilient to classical computers, but also quantum computers. The current way of encrypting your data is based on mathematical complexity. So it means that it is too tough for a computer to to solve it, okay, in real time, right? What we do is that our foundation of the security is based on the principles of physics, which cannot be broken. I mean, that is very sacred in that way, right? And we make your data which will be safe even in a post-quantum world. And primarily we are working with defense, because that's where we require to safeguard our data, because that's very essential for the nation. And it has got applications in telecom, data centers, and something like IoTs. So it has got relevance and use cases for all this. But currently we are focused on making this technology available to the end forces, which is mostly into the B2G space.
B2G space, right?
But we are also now have finalized things with another IT company where we need to deal with the data centers.
I had a discussion with one person, and he's a cybersecurity expert. But surprisingly, we did not talk about the quantum computers there. So cybersecurity is also working the same space where they are trying to secure the data. So how it is different from the technology, the solution what you have?
Yes, I think, cybersecurity is a very vast area by itself. Okay, so you can have different layers of security. So you can have a physical layer of security, you can have application layer of security. So, what are we focused on is actually on the base of it, which is the core of the security part, right? And probably with whom you interacted would have been dealing in a different space altogether. So there are different layers. Cybersecurity is in that way very vast. What we do is that we are making the base encryption, which is being used to encrypt your data, quantum safe. So if the backbone is safe, then anything that you build on top of it is bound to be safe. जैसे बोलते हैं ना कि आपका अगर नींव मतलब मजबूत है तो बाकी की बिल्डिंग भी वो मजबूत ही बनेगी.
Correct.
So that's how that is the thing we focus on. So there is an overlap of quantum security or the quantum cybersecurity with the traditional cybersecurity. Okay. But then cybersecurity also has other layers, which they work on application layer security. So it's that is how it is interlinked.
Okay. So can we talk about the support which we are providing, as you said, B2G हमारा है.
हाँ.
तो क्या आप किस लेवल पे काम कर रहे हैं, किस डायरेक्शन में काम कर रहे हो, what you are trying to secure?
Yes. So we are actually building this hardware modules, which are called as quantum transceivers. Now this can be used to create keys on demand. So you do not have to rely on some algorithm to do it for you. And what it does is that it gives you twofold benefit. First thing is that it will give you quantum resilience, that your keys will, your security will be, withstanding quantum computers. The second part is that even when if someone tries to intercept your data, he would reveal himself. Now think about it. It's actually giving you something which people did not think could happen. So imagine you're sending something and someone intercepts it and the receiver gets to know that this was being intercepted, so let's drop it.
Wow.
Okay.
Which is not happening in cybersecurity.
So the modern communication or the classical communication we do is designed in a way that you cannot detect interception.
Okay.
Like, if you see your mobile will do a radio orchestra in all directions. So the nearby tower will take it and then take it and amplify and send to the other towers, right?
Right.
And even anyone with their own setup, which can try to mimic a tower, can actually use it and get your data. It may be in an encrypted form. It can be decrypted. That's how every phone calls that we talk about also get intercepted, right? So the person could be in a 10-kilometer radius and use a small antenna, and he can intercept your call. And you never get to know. Right? Mm-hmm. But that is not true in quantum. In quantum, actually, you have a control. So, if anyone will intercept your data, he cannot do that without revealing his presence. So then you can discard it. Okay, this channel is not safe. Let's not use it. So this has got high relevance for our armed forces. When they are relying on each other, that this data is important, has to go to from one point to the other point, right? And they cannot trust the technology, right? That's a network which is built. But in this way, you can actually trust, and that yes, no one has heard this, right? So that is how this technology has high relevance for the armed forces. And then also equally important is that when you are handling bulk of the data, now imagine banks, right? They have a lot of data centers. They're handling so much of data. I believe that 85% of data today is digital.
Right. 5%, right? I think more than that.
Yeah, sure. I'm saying that more than 85% is digital, right? Now that data is very critical, and you have to ensure that it is kept in a safe way, right? So for that, you would need such kind of technology. Let's say data centers which are handling bulk of the data around the globe, right? You want to ensure that you are safe in a post-quantum world. So our idea is to ensure that this technology is adapted by all of these sensitive segments that we talk about, right? Which is handling bulk of the data.
As a company, right? Where we are standing at this point of time, like if any of the VCs or any investor would like to see this part, I'm not sure whether you would like to take any investment from the VCs or you are looking for any fund from the government.
Yeah, for that we are open to support which can come in. I think just that what is asked against that matters. That what are we looking at? What are we trying to create? I think that's where eventually things have to boil down to,
No, because the quantum part is quite wide open for all the industries nowadays, especially fintech if we talk about,
yes.
And the government sector you can talk about. These things are very important, as you rightly said, बहुत सिक्योरिटी की ज़रूरत है क्योंकि 85% ज़्यादा हमारा डेटा इन्फॉर्मेशन हमारे बैंक्स में है. So उस पे आप open हो, you are quite open for that.
Yeah, I'm open about it, and I think the idea is that it needs support from everyone. So, we do not live in an isolated world, right? That, everything we're doing by ourselves. So, here support is needed because we are competing with nations, which have way better organized structures, right? So, like, let's say that, आपने सुना होगा, right? If anyone wants to do some spiritual discussions, they want to come to India. Why? Because there is an entire ecosystem designed for that, right? And it is just easier for you. Similarly, in US, entrepreneurship is designed, there is an entire system to support you, and people are willing to take that risk. Whereas we have been a bit risk averse due to different reasons, but now if we are able to take kind of a calculated risk and move forward and work together, I think this is going to open avenues which we did not think could even exist.
Would you believe in that fact कि जो हमारा इकोसिस्टम है एंटरप्रेन्योरियल का जो है वो फिजिकल प्रोडक्ट अगर आपके पास है तो दे आर वेरी मच लाइक ओके लेट्स गो अहेड with that. When you talk about the concept, when you talk about the services, हमारा ecosystem जो entrepreneur का है वो उतना strong नहीं है इंडिया में.
Yeah, I mean, my experience with this has been also, I mean, I do not have a particular figure, but I think the kind of investment is happening where scaling is important, or there is a scope of scaling your product or solution that you're offering. I think most of the investments are happening in that space. So let's say if you build an app and that can be scaled to, let's say, 10 million, users, then there's money for that. Whereas when you want to do a kind of a strategic, product or something which is solving a particular thing, we have found that a lot of people are not that interested to, take that bet. And especially I think also when we talk about defense sector or something where it is B2B, we do not have that many players. I'm talking about more from technology point of view.
Right.
I'm not talking about like a SaaS based solution, or I'm talking about something which comes as a technology. So the investments are very limited in technology part. Okay, so you can use blockchain, you can again create something, and there is a money for that. But who built, what is the technology behind blockchain, right? How things are working. You're looking at a blockchain and its applications.
As an application, as a technology, you're just looking at.
Yes.
But behind the scene, how it happened.
Yes. So I think that is relatively less. But I feel that, the point is that we have to make sure that we work around and we are able to survive and make things happen.
तो जो भी अमीनेश, जो भी मैं अभी देख रहा हूँ प्रोडक्ट जो भी है मार्केट पे, जो भी हमारे फंडिंग उठा रहे हैं, उनका सबका मैंने देखा है कि उन्होंने कोई नया ऐप नहीं बनाया है. किसी के ऐप को देख के उसको स्केल अप करके इन्हांस करके जरूर उन्होंने डेवलप किया है, लेकिन मुझे नहीं लग रहा है कि कोई अपने नया टेक्नोलॉजी या नया ऐप कॉन्सेप्ट लेके आ रहा है. व्हाट डू यू थिंक अबाउट इट?
Yeah, I mean, I would call it that, yes, like I also agree with you on that part. And I think it is also that the risk appetite, the VC or the investors have their own risk appetite. That probably, this has a 90% success rate, so I'll go with that. So in that way, I think I also try to think, okay, that this can also happen when we are working, which we have to factor in before we take up any project, right? So any work that we take up, factor karo ke ye bhi ho sakta hai. This also things can happen. Maybe you are calculating for 10 months or some X time, it can double, right? So have some margins for that. So I think a lot of learning happens when you actually work with the clients or your customers actually. That ये पर्सपेक्टिव तो मैंने सोचा ही नहीं, तब इसको इनकॉर्पोरेट करना, इम्प्रोवाइज करना, बिकॉज इन स्टार्टअप्स यू कैन नॉट कम अप विद अ फिक्स स्ट्रैटेजी कि यार ऐसे होगा. Especially when you are into B2B. I don't know how it is in B2C, but in the B2G, a lot of things happen between two entities, right? You talk about things, okay, you work back and forth, कि हाँ, okay, this solution, this is how it is. So a lot of things get factored.
Now, जैसे एक छोटा सा सवाल है, जैसे B2G की हम लोग बात कर रहे हैं, B2G और जो फिनटेक की बात कर रहे हैं, वो बहुत ही रेगुलेटेड इन्वायरमेंट है, बहुत ही हाई, यू हैव टू हैव स्ट्रॉन्ग रेगुलेटरी अफेयर्स विद these people,
yes.
right? तो वो क्या है, कैसे मैनेज कर रहे हो? What are the things you are going through right now? और बहुत बड़ा इशू है यार वो.
It is, and I think that when you deal with the forces, right? When you are dealing with the forces, it is also designed to ensure that they are safe at the end of the day. So many of these regulations or protocols are just to ensure that the guys who are actually taking that risk are I mean, their security should be optimum, should be the best. So आप अंदर जाना चाहते हो तो you know have to hand over your phones, सब कुछ हटाना पड़ेगा, and also because कि they don't want to risk the organization, because this organization is safeguarding our nation, right? They are working day and night for that part. So all of these things were designed. Of course, now things can also be relaxed. Like now it is not that you do have cameras in place. Like if you have 5-6 people.
No, my question was different.
Okay.
I'm not talking about these kind of concern, but I'm talking about the collaboration which is happening between your solution and the kind of project government has right now.
Okay.
जब वो collaboration हो रहा है तो उसमें क्या क्या प्रोटोकॉल सेट किए जाते हैं कि भाई ये टेक्नोलॉजी को एक्सेप्ट करना है, करें कि नहीं करें? क्यों मैं पूछ रहा हूँ ये बात, क्योंकि मैं नूतन से जब बात कर रहा था तो नूतन ने मुझे बताया था कि बहुत ही हाईली सिक्योर्ड इन्वायरमेंट होता है और कोई भी आप जो सोल्यूशन प्रोवाइड कर रहे हो, इट गोज थ्रू वन बास्केट टू अनदर टिल इट रीचेज एट द एंड ऑफ द project.
Yeah, I think there's a thorough due diligence on that part. That is true, and I think so. In quantum tech, we do not have a regulatory body, as in something which is doing the standards for that. That body has been set up, so we are also a part of it, and we are trying to create that framework so that it can eventually be quickly tested, and the technology can be used by the customers. I mean, that could be any space, right? So that is being created, and yes, it goes through multiple checks. Especially because the idea is that it will definitely if we hand over a product, they will check about it. Okay, how things are, whether things from a application point of view, what is the pros and cons of it, what it can do, can we test it in a different environment. It is just to ensure then the end user is not at risk when he is using it. So that's the perspective behind it, and I think that it is different because for Nutan things that we mentioned is very very on the spot. Like so you cannot have any
sensitive part.
Yeah, that's a very sensitive thing.
Right.
Whereas our things are like once you have understand the product and you know it, then it is a part of like how do you have servers, right? You have to ensure that some basic sanity checks are done. It's tried and tested. It's durable, and then can be used. Because once it is in use, it's in place. Things are there. So yeah.
So pretty much discuss about quantum part here, and of course your startup. And I don't feel that it's no longer a startup. मतलब ये मुझे नहीं समझ में आता 4 साल 5 साल का तो startup क्यों बोलते हैं? ये thought process है बिल्कुल ही अलग है.
I would I feel that keep that thing, because what I feel is that it should always push you to work harder. So
उसका वो तो माइंडसेट का बात है. वो अगर स्टार्टअप हो या खुद की कंपनी हो, से डजंट मैटर. लेकिन अभी मेरे टॉपिक में डिस्कस करने वाला हूँ अनिमेश, कि कुछ मैं बातें करना चाहता हूँ कि जो बच्चे हैं, जैसे जो थीम है इस चैनल का, टू प्रोवाइड इन्फॉर्मेशन टू फ्रेशर्स जो कि बहुत ज़्यादा इंटरेस्टेड हैं ये सारी टेक्नोलॉजीज़ में. तो अगर कोई बच्चा, कोई स्टूडेंट क्वांटम टेक्नोलॉजीज़ में आना चाहता है या क्वांटम कंप्यूटिंग में आना चाहता है, व्हाट आर थिंग्स ही कैन डू टू कम इनटू दिस, डिस्पाइट दिस फैक्ट कि हो सकता है कि वो किसी अच्छे एजुकेशन से नहीं आ रहा हो.
राइट. आई थिंक कि टेक्नोलॉजी इन अ वे हैज़ टू एक्ट एज एन एनेबलर, एंड of course it can also be used in different way, but eventually it should be good for everyone. And now anyone, अगर कोई भी ऐसे एनवायरनमेंट से, ऐसे जगह से जहाँ पे उसके पास वो फैसिलिटीज़ नहीं हैं, आज के डेट में ऐसे बहुत सारी चीज़ें अवेलेबल हैं ऑनलाइन विच इज़ ओपन सोर्स, जिससे आप सीख सकते हैं. जैसे कि बहुत सारे आजकल कोर्सेज अवेलेबल हैं यूट्यूब पे, यूनिवर्सिटीज़ डालती हैं, एंड जिससे आप बहुत सारी चीज़ सीख सकते हैं. एटलीस्ट द बेसिक चीज़ जो रिक्वायरमेंट होती है, जैसे क्वांटम कंप्यूटिंग में आने के लिए आई थिंक आपके पास एक अच्छा बैकग्राउंड अगर मैथ्स में है तो क्वांटम आपके लिए यू विल बी एबल टू पिक अप थिंग्स वेरी ईजिली. देन द क्वांटम फिजिक्स का जो एक बेसिक कोर्स होता है वो भी रिक्वायर्ड होता है, क्वांटम कंप्यूटिंग का भी. तो ऑलरेडी लॉट ऑफ एजुकेटिव मटेरियल इज़ अवेलेबल, and I think at some point of time I should definitely kind of share this with you so that you can put it, so anybody who is looking at your channel can see, okay, there is some input and we can quickly check it.
Exactly.
Right. I think that should be good, because we do have a lot of skill deficit in India, as in we do not get a lot of people, because it's a technology and limited to few labs, research labs in India. तो सबके पास वो access नहीं है, but that's all on the experimental part of it, right? कि आपको वो फैसिलिटी चाहिए टू वर्क ऑन दैट, बट टू स्टडी द फ्रेमवर्क or the physics behind it, that is something which can be done online. And already, let's say IBM is offering courses, जो कोई भी बैठे कहीं भी बैठ के वो कोर्स ले सकते. Yeah, IBM is offering courses. And then there are courses offered on Coursera, जो Coursera है, and then edX है. So there are various platforms, and many of these are like you can enroll it no matter where you are from. Right, so in that way it is very good. Anybody can, आप आराम से जाओ वो courses पे enroll करो. Of course there are not like everything would be free, but जो basic जो elementary education required है इसके लिए वो आपको आसानी से उपलब्ध है.
ओके तो उसके लिए हमारे पास मैथ्स और फिजिक्स का बैकग्राउंड बहुत स्ट्रांग होना चाहिए.
या आई मीन मैथ्स, कंप्यूटर साइंस, बिकॉज अभी के डेट में तो आई थिंक एवरीवन, आई हैव सीन माय ओन नेफ्यू, सब लोग तो कंप्यूटर साइंस पढ़ते ही हैं.
लेकिन यार वो जो आप कंप्यूटर साइंस की बात कर रहे हो ना, उसका जो अभी भी कैरिकुलम देखोगे, कोर्सेज देखोगे, सब्जेक्ट्स देखोगे, वो आज से भी वही पुराने चले आ रहे हैं.
या
मुझे नहीं दिखा कि कंप्यूटिंग के मतलब क्वांटम की बात कर रहे हैं या फिर एआई की बात कर रहे हैं.
आई थिंक दैट इज नॉट ओनली लिमिटेड टू कंप्यूटर साइंस. आई एम टेलिंग यू दैट वी हैव आल्सो गॉन थ्रू दैट एंटायर करिकुलम. इट हैज टू चेंज एट मेनी लेवल्स, एज इन थिंग्स which is called as what are the new things happening, right? How do you include this as a part of your entire coursework, right? That kind of change, I believe that this new education policy will be taking up, but I don't know how much it has to also translate in terms of real action, right?
Animesh, take an example, like कोई बच्चा है जो कि बहुत अच्छा हो, फिजिक्स मैथ्स में बहुत अच्छा हो, अगर वो लेकिन कोई एक्सपीरियंस नहीं हो, फ्रेशर हो, क्या अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ आप बनाते हो, ऐसा कुछ करते हो उनके लिए?
बिल्कुल. सो हमारे पास हमारे वेबसाइट पे, जो कि मैं आपको दूंगा, आप वो अपने वेबसाइट पे होस्ट कर सकते हो. कोई भी आके अपना इंटरेस्ट डाल सकता है हमारे वेबसाइट पे, एंड वी गो थ्रू देयर थिंग एंड वी ऑल्सो गिव अपॉर्चुनिटीज़. Of course, we also we come up with some problems to see that what is the eagerness level, that how much anyone wants to put their effort in, and there is always options. We also take interns from colleges. We take.
कैसे selection करते हो जो interns का है, क्या देखते हो आप उस पे?
First of all, I think everyone has to show some interest, right? And that interest has to come not because you read and you just do it, because there has to be some homework done from their end, right? कि आप कुछ you have done something on that अपने साइड से, right? Let's say आप BSc कर रहे हो या MSc कर रहे हो, आपने कुछ पढ़ा हुआ है, आपको लगता है कि हाँ यार इस पे कुछ लग रहा है, काम कर सकते हैं क्या? So then you show your interest and you say that you have certain things in place, and then we give you a problem, then we onboard them quickly for a short term time, एक time के लिए, so that we evaluate them more closely, right? And if they show that eagerness and they show the hard work, then it is absorbed. So
okay,
we do give these opportunities. I mean, anywhere आप किसी भी जगह से belong करते हो, anyone can apply. And at this time we are also looking for some good people to be a part of the team. So
तो छोटा सा एग्जांपल दे सकते हो कि छोटा सा एग्जांपल जस्ट फॉर टू लेट व्यूअर्स नो, स्पेशली स्टूडेंट्स, किस तरह की प्रॉब्लम आप देते हो उनको? छोटा सा एग्जांपल दे के आप बताओ.
ओके, तो आप चाहते हो कि मैं क्वांटम फिजिक्स से दूं या फिर कोई
नहीं, जो आप सिलेक्शन प्रोसेस आपका जो है उसमें आप ऐसा क्या प्रॉब्लम देते हो कि जो आप एक्सपेक्ट करते हो कि इसका ये सोल्यूशन या अप्रोच करेक्ट मिल जाए मुझे?
राइट. सो जब आप बेसिक, मान लो आप BSc में कुछ एक बेसिक लेवल का फिजिक्स किए हो, राइट? MSc में मान लो आपने क्वांटम पे अगर कुछ कोर्स किया हुआ है, राइट? या फिर आप कंप्यूटर साइंस बैकग्राउंड से हो तो आपने कुछ कोर्स किया हुआ है उसका, राइट? तो उसका हम लोग एक उसी से फील्ड, उसके बैकग्राउंड से रिलेटेड एक प्रॉब्लम देते हैं, which has some link with our technology.
Okay.
Right? वो problem हम लोग डालते हैं, and then they have to use their skill sets or the courses that they have taken, right? उनका जो अपना knowledge है, उसको कि they try to solve it, and then they can take help of anything. The idea is that whether you can use the resources around you to solve a problem or not. It is not like everything is there from the day one, right? We keep on getting new stuff, learning new stuff, right? तो आप क्या वो प्रॉब्लम को सर्च करते हो, क्या आप समझते हो, कैन यू रिलेट इट विथ व्हाट यू हैव स्टडीड? जैसे मैं एक बेसिक एग्जांपल देता हूँ, क्रिप्टोग्राफी, क्योंकि हमारा ये हम लोग इस स्पेस के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं. तो व्हाट डू यू मीन बाय क्रिप्टोग्राफी, राइट? सो क्रिप्टोग्राफी बेसिकली मीन्स दैट टू मेक योर डेटा इन अ फॉर्म विच कैन बी ओनली नोन बाय द इंटेंडेड रिसीवर. तो आप चाहते हो कि आप मुझे कुछ इन्फॉर्मेशन भेजो, तो आप कुछ एक टेक्निक यूज़ करोगे जिसके थ्रू आप वो डेटा मुझे भेजोगे, एंड बिकॉज देयर इज अ there is some principle, some method involved. Only when I have that, I can know the information. Otherwise, it is not readable to everyone. Right? That's the basic. Now, this has got application. Why? Because this has got applications everywhere. So, आप देखोगे कि आप आते हो कंप्यूटर साइंस के बैकग्राउंड से, राइट? तो उसमें भी ये प्रोसेस यूज होता है. तो क्या आप देख पा रहे हो कि ओके व्हाई इट इज़ इम्पॉर्टेंट टू यूज दिस काइंड ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी? कैन यू सी समवन इज कमिंग फ्रॉम फिजिक्स perspective, right? He's saying that ki, acha, there was something which was based on some algorithm. Now it is saying that there is something which you are bringing from quantum which is totally random. So I can give you an example. जैसे कि अगर आपको कोई भी अगर सूटकेस अगर आपको दे दें कि आप लॉक करो, तो आप जनरली क्या करोगे? आप डेट ऑफ बर्थ चूज करोगे, मोबाइल नंबर चूज करोगे. I mean, we all do that, right? Yeah. It can always be repetitive. Passwords में, you know, we do this, right? Now, if you do this, give this task to a computer के लिए it's a very hard task. तो what it will do is that it will look for any source of randomness के आसपास में क्या है, तो कोई function available है. So if there is a function available, it will use a function. Now that function, if it keeps on creating keys, it is always prone to reverse engineering, right? So अगर आपने तो I will be able to guess your keys. Whereas in quantum, what it happens is that the key, even if I am the owner of the device, I cannot tell for sure what the keys are going to be.
Wow. So they will pick any random numbers.
Yeah. So it's basically this is harnessing random numbers or random keys, right? Or randomness from the nature.
Okay.
We are not doing. So there is something called as randomness because of lack of information. जैसे कि अभी आप जा रहे हो बाहर, राइट? आपको पता नहीं है कि आप तो बाहर नहीं देख पा रहे हो कि कैसा मौसम है. आप बाहर निकले, बारिश हो गई. बिकॉज यू डिडंट नो, यू कुडंट सी कि यार बादल है तो बारिश हो गई, तो आपको लगा ये रैंडम इवेंट हो गया, यार मुझे क्या मालूम था बारिश होने वाला है. दिस रैंडमनेस इज कमिंग बिकॉज ऑफ लैक ऑफ इन्फॉर्मेशन.
It's very unique all the time.
Yes.
Okay. So we talk about your journey and your product, your services, your knowledge, and we talk about the students and everything. मैं एक फेवरेट पार्ट है जो कि मैं सबसे बात करता हूँ, ये मेरा सिग्नेचर क्वेश्चन है.
Sure.
तो अनिमेश, एक लाइफ एंटरप्रेन्योर की कैसे होती है, दैट इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. बिकॉज मैं ये क्वेश्चन सबसे पूछता जो भी एंटरप्रेन्योर आते हैं, बिकॉज इट लुक्स वेरी फैंसी टू पीपल व्हेन दे लुक एट अस. दे से यार क्या बात है यार, लाइफ तो बड़ी फैसिनेटिंग है तुम्हारी, बहुत इंजॉय कर रहे हो ये वो. बट दे हैवंट सीन द ग्रे साइड ऑफ बीइंग एन एंटरप्रेन्योर. बिकॉज वो एम्प्टी बैंक अकाउंट, वो जो पैसे नहीं होते हैं और लोग आपको जज कर रहे हैं हर लेवल पे. आप एक टाइम पे ऐसा हो जाता है कि आप सब जगह जाना छोड़ देते हो, मिलना छोड़ देते हो, क्योंकि उनको समझ में नहीं आ रहा है कि क्या हो रहा है लाइफ में, क्या कर रहे हो. अच्छा बेटा अभी भी कुछ नहीं कर रहा, अच्छा कर लेगा कोई बात नहीं. आपको क्या फेस करना पड़ा, ऐसा कुछ फेस हुआ आपके साथ?
आई थिंक नॉट फेस, इट इज़ गोइंग टू बी अ प्रोसेस. बिकॉज और ये चलता रहेगा. वाई? बिकॉज कि there are two journeys any entrepreneur makes. One which is visible to the other, and one which is going inside him. Because whenever you do something, कई बार आपको लगता है कि यार अगर ये होता तो मैं ये तुरंत कर लेता. If I had this, I'll do this, right? But then it is true that मतलब एटलीस्ट द पीपल मेरे फैमिली वाइज में भी उनको लगता है कि बेसिकली एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप मीन्स कि अपना कंपनी खोला एंड कहीं एक बड़े से ऑफिस में बैठे हुए हैं एंड एंड यार एंजॉय करें. बोलते हैं अरे आप तो लाइक यू आर CEO, सो व्हाट काइंड ऑफ, आपको क्या दिक्कत है, आप तो कभी भी लीव ले सकते हो, कोई भी कुछ कर सकते हो. दैट्स नॉट ट्रू. आई मीन ऑफ कोर्स आई एम ट्राइंग टू एजुकेट द यंगस्टर्स. एक्चुअली इट इज़ नॉट ट्रू. इट्स अ डिफरेंट डिसिप्लिन. It's a discipline where you will have to compromise or rather sacrifice many things for a larger cause. So you must have the drive कि why I am doing this for to start with. यार ये क्यों करना चाह रहे हैं? क्योंकि एक हो सकता है कि you are not ready for that or you don't want to do that because your image or your concept about a startup or a entrepreneurship is coming from looking at only the successful ones.
Lavish life.
हाँ कि यार बहुत बड़ा लाइफ है and all of that. But that is not true. Okay.
क्या क्या sacrifices किए हैं इसके कारण?
ऐसा कुछ मतलब not that I want to count, but I think that one of the things which will happen is that as you said, empty bank accounts, right? Which means that there will always be the money that you are going to get will be very volatile. I mean, it has to go in different directions, right?
Right.
So you will not have a very strong, savings or something, because you will have to take that risk, right? अगर आप वो करना चाहते हो, तो of course, people who can afford even while doing it is a great thing. But I'm talking about coming from I come from a very humble family background. हमारे पास ऐसा कोई support नहीं है कि okay, if that thing happens, then ठीक है, कुछ पड़ा हुआ है, so that thing will happen. The second part is that a lot of your personal life will get, sacrificed, because the time you're going to spend is not 9 o'clock to 6 o'clock. It can happen at 7, it can happen 11 at night, right? So
maybe more than that.
हाँ, more than that, right? तो आपका वो time जाएगा, right? So a lot of your personal things will get sacrificed in that process.
मेरे साथ same situation है. I stay with my mom, and no matter what time I go home, वो एक cup of tea और वो पूछना कि बेटा दिन कैसा गया, खाना खाया कि नहीं, खाना बना दे, खाना खा लो, वो इतना एनर्जाइज कर देता है ना आपको, आपके माइंड सेट को कि नेक्स्ट डे यू आर रेडी बिकॉज समबडी इज देयर. तो यू आर एब्सोल्युटली राइट about having a support about from the family.
There has to be something, right? And I think if you look at the businesses, the traditional businesses, most of them live in a joint family. If you look at any businesses,
looking at
that's required. अब देखो आप जहाँ पे आपका होलसेल का बिजनेस अगर चल रहा हो, वो लोग जॉइंट फैमिली में सारे फैमिली मेंबर्स उसी बिजनेस में हैं. बिकॉज ये ऐसा नहीं है ना कि आप काम कर दिए, आपने 9 से 6 दे दिया, 25 days आपने काम कर लिया, and then you are getting a salary. It may not happen. So you'll also have to keep looking for opportunities, working on your risk, trying to work with the team, ensuring things are there. Many times I also मैं बताता हूँ कि हमारे पास क्या है कि क्योंकि थोड़ा डिले होता है पेमेंट्स में, तो कई बार ऐसा होता है कि हमारे लोगों को भी पेमेंट्स थोड़े लेट पे आ रहे हैं. So it's little hard because the company will be, will take a priority from you, right? I mean, जो भी करना पहले, this thing has to happen, right? Whatever you are getting is a derivative of what the company is making, right? So in that way, it actually is, I would call it that definitely very challenging.
एक चीज़ और मुझे पूछना है, just since you have come up with you have seen both the world, MNC and startup का, जो freshers हैं, जो बच्चे हैं जो ज्वाइन करना चाहते हैं, उनको स्टार्टअप ज्वाइन करना चाहिए या फिर उनको एक एमएनसी ज्वाइन करना चाहिए? बिकॉज बहुत ही ट्रिकी क्वेश्चन है. मेरे हिसाब से वे आपके एपेटाइट पे डिपेंड करता है कि आप कितना ले सकते हो. लेकिन अकॉर्डिंग टू यू व्हाट यू फील?
आई थिंक इट कम्स फ्रॉम I would call it, what is your initial requirement? I'll tell you why. Let's say someone who has taken up a loan, education loan, which are very expensive, and if he has come into the space, he has created a liability in that way, right? He has to ensure that his EMIs and other things are paid on time, right? Because that is important for ensuring that his family is okay to do it, So I think your initial drive is that there is a money requirement for the next 2 years. Then you focus on bigger companies because that's where the stability that you need will come from. And then 2 years later, you can take that risk, right? But then if there is some backing with you, कि हाँ यार मतलब अगर 1 साल भी हुआ, there is no problem. I can again look for something more. Then please come. I mean, we are all. And then the work, basically what you're coming for. If you're coming for the salary part, right? Startups may not be a good point, I would say. May not be, because of course there are startups which are offering, funded startups are offering things which you have not, which even other companies are not offering. That's also a separate thing. But then if you have a capability and you can work with the startup and relate with the idea, do join, because we never know who can be your partner, who can help the things grow faster.
यार एक चीज़ तो ये सारी बातें हो गई हमारी, सबको हमने बहुत सारी बातें की टेक्नोलॉजी के बारे में, एंटरप्रेन्योर के बारे में. मैंने एक और आपका पार्ट देखा है जो कि अभी तक शायद लोगों को पता है नहीं पता, लेकिन मुझे पता चला कि आप स्पिरिचुअलिटी में बहुत बिलीव करते हो. और आप बहुत उस पर यू आर इनटू इट, राइट? तो व्हाट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ स्पिरिचुअलिटी फॉर यू? मेरे लिए डिफरेंट थॉट प्रोसेस है. व्हाट डू यू थिंक अबाउट इट?
So to start with the definition is very important. So spirituality is an English term, which actually
Adhyatm.
yeah. So we call it Adhyatmavad. That's the proper term in Sanskrit that we call it. Now, what it means is that it talks about Atma. Right? Now, Atma, there are other definitions in different cultures, but we have a very different definition. Right? Now, Atma, what it means, it is an eternal entity. Right? And the study of this entity is Adhyatmavad. So, that's how it gets translated into spirit to spirituality. So, Atma, Adhyatma, and Adhyatmavad. So, what it means is that, we all have a physical origin. Like, आपने देखा होगा कि if someone has died, it says that the person left. Now, the body is still there. So, you must be more than the body, right? To tell that he has left or she has left, right? That knowledge, our ancient rishis have, put it in Shastras, the ancient Indian, work on this field. And they talks about more things about understanding your true nature, right? So many times people say that what is there in spirituality and all. So what I would say, it is basically knowing the basics of who you are. That is what I would clearly, and then work with those basics, right? So it is true on one hand that you are not the body, right? Because agar aap body ho, to then basically anything that you're doing, you do it and that's everything is over. So where does the Atma come in, right? So the idea which has to come, or at least the rishis have spoken in length on this, is Atma is a eternal principle. Okay, it is never created, never destroyed. Which means that we are here for something, do the things that we required, and that is with respect to your own place or wherever you are born, and things are whatever you're educated with, you do that. But know that after this, again, this has to go, right? And that is what I relate with. There are some misapplication. I would call it as some disinformation or misinformation, both, right? It is true that you are not the body, but it is a fact that you are in this body. Okay, it is basically the identification, right? So if you identify with the body, then you would not need everything, right? Good clothes, better clothes, everything should be good. All the material things should come in, right? That identification, is not is discarded, right? So you have to identify with your Atma, which means that there's some basic needs everyone has. Do it, right? But then that these all things are very transient, and that so that is what I would call it as spirituality. But more importantly, this is important today, so that you have the right mindset to be. Like, imagine that if you're treating any person, right? Any person, how do you treat it? Because agar aap koi nahi dekh raha to koi bhi chori karna chahega, right? But that is not how the karma works, right? Karma is basically a uniform or a very what should be the right word, is a ledger. Is a ledger of records of everything. You can't escape it. Light off kiya to bhi wo record ho raha hai. Right? And once you know, then you would treat any other person equally. Right? That will not happen no matter what, how, where he comes from, where he lives, what is his background. But when you know that, eventually, all of us are linked in some way in this, that kind of, things only come through Adhyatma. Because otherwise you will say that what is this? There is nothing. They are doing, I am doing, I do wrong, I don't get punished in this life. So what?
Karma will come back.
Right?
Yeah.
So it says that even if you have escaped, it is only transient. It is going to come back to you.
Right.
So then you will be very careful, very, very mindful of how you deal with people. And I would call it that in the field that we are in, or anywhere, just treat people well. That is very important. I think that's important, very important in startup, to treat people well.
That is this is a very important, spirituality is another discussion we have it, and definitely we should meet one more time to discuss more about the deep of spirituality.
Yes.
But at the same time, we know that it's always 1 hour. I have one rapid fire question for you. If you want to live someone's life, who could be that person?
It need not be related to anything. No? I mean,
Anything, we just want to live your life, because if you are very much influenced by that person or something, because if you ask me this question, I want to live a life of my mom, because that gives me a lot of strength to fight back, to bounce back. She's my backbone, everything. So if you have to someone,
it's a very difficult one because I'm not able to
but
think.
if not this time, the next time we can give the answer in case we are not.
Yes. So I think I would definitely want to be, born. I cannot mention the time because I'm not sure about.
No problem. That's whatever it is.
I would definitely want to be in the times when our country as a nation was very rich in almost all fields, because I feel that the kind of mathematics or linguistics people have worked on is enormous, and I would definitely want to be in that time.
Maybe at that time when zero was invented by India.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of other things,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I feel that because the people, our ancient rishis, they were also scientists.
Right.
These people were also, and then there were a lot of commerce, there was a lot of music, a lot of arts, and I feel that lot of aesthetics, like you can see the ancient temples, right? Engineering marvels. I would definitely want to be around that time. That kya ho kya raha, That is something I would definitely want.
Great.
Yes.
So it was a discussion with you, Animesh. I hope you liked the conversation. I enjoyed it thoroughly because it was a new subject, new thing for me, and I hope my viewers got something out of it. I'm sure they did. And small gesture for you. At the end of the conversation, we give a small
Okay.